All right, let's see who's gonna pop in. Who's gonna join me? As soon as we get somebody live, then does that? Okay, so I'm going to show you guys this because I'm asked all the time, how can I get to Ruby and what does Ruby look like? So I'm just going to draw it up here for you guys right now, okay? So I believe in each and every one of you, and I really, really believe that each and every one of you can get to Ruby. So let me show you how easy it is to go Ruby and what it looks like, okay? Now you guys can get your Ruby chart from your eSuite, okay? So if you guys log into your eSuite and you go to your document library, all you have to type in is Ruby, and then you're gonna print one of these, okay? So this is a Ruby chart. But I'm gonna show you guys, and everyone that's going Ruby, that's shooting for their $500 Ruby bonus, or even if you're eventually going for Emerald or Diamond, you need to know how to do Ruby to get there, okay? So I'm a lefty, so I'm gonna go to this side. I'm gonna show you guys what the Ruby looks like. Okay, so if you're gonna go Ruby, you need to personally sign, oh, let me make that a little bit bigger because that is not close enough. Okay, so we're gonna go Ruby. All right, and a Ruby can make on average $300 to $500 depending on how much volume your team has as a whole, okay? So I got started to make about $300 to $500 4 years ago, and that was a Ruby. So I'm gonna show you guys how to get to Ruby, how to, where everything needs to be as far as the pieces and parts to make that happen. And remember, part of the cruise is getting rubies on your team, because when you go Ruby, you get a $2,500 or 2,500 points towards the cruise, okay? And then whoever sponsored you, they get 2,500 points for the cruise as well. So you really want to be working with your sponsor, and you really want to be working with your team, because the more rubies that we can get, the more people we're probably going to get on the cruise, which is really, really awesome. And if you guys are running for the $500 Ruby bonus, this is how you're going to make it happen, okay? So Ruby is just you, so you're the Ruby. It's just you and then 5 team members. Okay, now here's the one thing that I want you guys to keep in mind, that those 5 people, all 5 of them don't necessarily have to be signed by you, okay? Some of these people you might sign 3 of them, and then one of your teammates might sign 2, okay? Because you only need a total of 5, but they just can't be 5 all over. You have to have a structure, because on all of the charts that you look at, every chart has a structure. So structure is really, really important. Placement is really, really important. That's why we place out our customers, we place out our distributors. So, I mean, I have built a Ruby all by myself before. I have personally signed 5 people and built a Ruby like that, okay? So here's what a Ruby is gonna look like. So a Ruby is going to be at least 3 people on your front line, because you have your top line or your front line, and then you have your second level, your third level, and it goes on forever, okay? I think our team might be about 30 levels deep, so you might be 30 levels deep, okay? So here's what a Ruby looks like. This is what you got to do to get your $2,500 Ruby points for the cruise, and this is what you need for those of you running for $500 Ruby, okay? So you need 3 people on your front line, okay? 3 people, 3 distributors, DT, okay? So DT1, DT2, and DT3. So that is gonna start your structure for Ruby, okay? So this is what you need to get it started, is you need 1, 2, 3 people to at least start that front line for you, okay? And you wanna make sure that all of your distributors have their 80 BV auto ship turned on. So you wanna make sure that everyone is set up for success and everyone has their 80 BV auto ship turned on, because quite frankly, you're running a business, you wanna have some overhead. Our overhead is like a box of wraps and a couple of supplements, all right? Because you want to be a product of the product. You guys heard me talking yesterday. There's three key components to being successful with It Works. And one, you got to believe in the product, you got to believe in your company, and you got to believe in yourself. Well, believing in the products is being a product of the product, and you can do that with the ADBV auto ship, okay? So the next thing you want to make sure that's running in place is you want to make sure that everyone hits the 400 club. The 400 club is really, really important because It Works won't pay out your commissions. Like, we get paid our monthly commission checks on by the 15th of every month, but they're not going to pay out your commission check unless you've made at least $21, okay? And once you hit the 400 club, then you're getting into that position where you're going to be getting at least $20, okay? Or more. I mean, you could get more depending on what everyone's ordering, but 400 is key. So not only do you want to make sure that you have your 3 frontline distributors, each one wants to be on their ADBV auto ship. If they have 79, they're not going to be commission qualified, okay? So you want to make sure that they're set up for 80. So when you're putting them in the system for the first time, make sure that you are that you're turning on the auto ship when you're putting them in the system. The next thing is you're going to want to make sure that they're in the 400 club. 400 club is important because we want to make sure that your distributors are set up for success, okay? We want to make sure that you have your 3 frontline distributors. They all have their ADBV auto ship on, so that way they do get paid their commission checks. And then you want them to be at 400 or higher, because then they're going to start getting paid, and 400 makes them a qualified leg, so a QL. So for those of you that are new, you'll hear that word QL. It means a qualified leg, and this is going to make them a qualified leg because you can't promote unless you have a certain number of qualified legs, again, with the structure, okay? So this is super important. So 3 things so far. 3 frontline distributors. They need to all have their ADBV auto ship turned on. You want to make sure they're all hitting their 400 club so that they get paid, because I mean, they're getting in this to get paid as well, okay? Super, super important. And if at any point anyone has any questions, don't hesitate to ask, okay? We are live, so I can answer you live. Now, that's not a Ruby though. That's the start of your structure. Now you want to complete the Ruby structure, so here's what you're going to do. At least one of these 3 people have to start building their front line as well. Remember, this is your front line. These 3 people here, that is your front line. So you want to start, at least one of them have to start their front line too. Now, can you have more than one distributor starting their front line? Absolutely. Absolutely. But we need at least one of them to start their front line so that you can get that Ruby structure, okay? Now, whether you start their front line or they start it on their own, it doesn't matter. It just has to be started, okay? So then let's just go with the person in the middle. So let's say the person in the center is starting their front line, okay? So they are signing 2 distributors, okay? So now they've started their front line with 2. Now, in order for the Ruby structure to be completed, you have a distributor here, you have a distributor here. Those 2, just like your top 3, these 2 have to have their ADBV auto ship on and ready so that they're set up for success, okay? We want to make sure that they're successful and they're running a successful business. And we want to make sure that they're going to start getting paid out, so we got to make sure that they've got the volume in place. So they also need to have 400 to make them a qualified leg, okay? Once that's done and once you have that in place, then you have everything in position for your Ruby, okay? You have your 3 front lines started. All 3 frontline have their ADBV auto ship on because they've started a business. We want to make sure that they're successful. We want to make sure that it's all falling into the you know, believing in their product, their company, and themselves, and the products are going to be where they get their ADBV. They want to be a 400 qualified leg because once they hit 400 in volume, then they're making enough to have It Works kick it out by the 15th of the month, okay? And then at least one of your front line have to be starting their own front line. So 2 distributors, these 2, ADBV auto ship as well, 400 qualified leg. I'm going to come closer so y'all can see that. Okay, so do you see that? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's the 5 total distributors that I was talking about that you need for Ruby. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All of them have the ADBV auto ship on because they want to be a successful business owner. And then all 4 of them are hitting their 400 because we want to make sure they're going to get enough in commissions. Now, the only thing else that's going to tie all of this together to make sure that you can hit your Ruby, get your 2,500 points for the cruise. If you're in the running still for the $500 Ruby bonus, the only other thing that you need to make sure that happens is you have to make sure you as the Ruby have to have your ADBV auto ship process as well. And our magic date for all auto ships for distributors, in order to make sure that you qualify and you are going to be paid out on everything that you've worked so hard for, is the 25th. So everything has to be paid out by the 25th, and that's super, super important, okay? I love how simple this is, and it only takes 2 of these structures underneath you to get you to Emerald, which is the next rank after Ruby. So you just basically have to have 2 of your people that are building this too, that they've got their front line and someone on their team is starting their own, okay? Does anyone have any questions on the Ruby and how to get there? All of this together is a successful team. Now, there's several different ways to build the Ruby if necessary, but this is the most simplified way. This is how corporate teaches it. And these are the key components. You have your 5 distributors, your ADBV auto ships for everyone, qualified leg for everyone, and you have your ADBV on as well. So those are the 4 key components. Does anyone have any questions on how we build a Ruby? Rubies can make between $300 and $500. They're eligible for a $500 Ruby bonus, and Rubies is the road to Diamond. It takes 3 of these on your team, 3 of these on your team in order for you to go Diamond, and a Diamond can make about $2,000 a month. Okay, and once you hit Diamond, that's when Mark Pentecost, our CEO of It Works Global, says at that point that gives you the license to print money, because then it unlocks so many other bonuses that you're eligible for. But you got to get to Diamond as soon as possible so that these can be kicked out. Okay, does anyone have any questions on how to get to Ruby? I love how simple this is, that we are pushing for Ruby for everyone. There's a lot of you who have never hit Ruby that are super close to hitting Ruby, and this is how we're going to do it. Okay, I love how simple this is. 4 easy things. 5 team members. Everyone has their ADBV auto ship on, so they're running a successful business. All 5 people hit 400 minimum. Obviously, they can be higher. 400 minimum in volume, so they can start getting paid, because we've got to have enough volume there to pay out. And the 4th thing in place is you have to have your ADBV auto ship on as well. Now, if this person that's right here in the center, this center person that has started their front line, if this person did not run an ADBV auto ship, this person can't promote to executive, because a Ruby has an executive on their team. So if this person who started their front line doesn't have their ADBV auto ship turned on, chances of them promoting are pretty slim to none. And if you don't have a paid executive on your team, well, you don't get to go Ruby. So it has to work together as a unit and as a team, okay? So this is why it's so important to stay plugged in. This is why it's so important to use your social media to get your customers in place. And it's so important when you are interviewing people to join your team, you make sure that they know that they're starting a business, because we want to make sure that everyone starts this up successfully, okay? So that's our Ruby. That's how you get to Ruby. It only takes 3 of them. I'll come in closer for you so we can see this before I close it out. Oh, we got a question. Okay, John wants to know, do the 2 DTs have to be under 1, or can they be under 2 different? They have to be under 1, because you have to have an executive. So a Ruby is 3 across the front line, and then 1 of those 3 have to be an executive. And an executive is this. So it's a distributor plus 2, okay? So in order to go Ruby, you have to have 3 on your front line, and at least 1 of them has to start their front line and have 2 of them at ADBV with 400 in volume, okay? Now, let's say, for instance, like we just did a Zoom a minute ago with someone, and I'll just show this quickly, but like Rachel is getting ready to, she's going for executive, okay? So Rachel on our team, Rachel wants to promote to executive. So Rachel, she needs 2 distributors on her front line, okay? 2 distributors. So we've got a DT and a DT. In order for Rachel to be paid as an executive, there's a couple of things that run into place. This distributor has to have an 80 BV auto ship and be at 400 or more in order volume. This distributor has to have an 80 BV auto ship and a 400 qualified leg in orders, and then Rachel has to have her 80 BV turned on. When everyone's working together as a unit and together, then Rachel's going to promote to executive, because this distributor and this distributor is running a successful business because they're running their order and they're hitting their volume limit qualifications. And because those two did that and she ran her 80 BV auto ship, that's going to set her up for executive, and you need an executive. Now, if Rachel wants to go Ruby, she would need a third distributor over here, and maybe like this one, creating their own executive underneath them with all of those qualifications falling into place, okay? Does anyone else have any other questions? It's all about teamwork, having the structure, getting the volume in place so that everyone is getting paid, because everyone's starting this. They want to be successful. They want to have everything in place. So I'm going to draw this out one more time before I end it so everyone knows. Again, a Ruby, all right, average $500. A Ruby starts with 3 people on your front line. At least one of those distributors is starting their own front line. Yes, you can have multiple people starting a front line. It's fine. They need to be 400 in volume so they can start getting paid. Just get in the habit of making sure everyone's hitting 400. And then they need their 80 BV auto ship, because that qualifies them to be paid off of their orders that they're putting in the system. Okay? And then the person at the top runs their 80 BV. So once all of that's in place, that's your Ruby structure, okay? So everyone works together. 3 front line. Someone on the front line is starting their own front line. 400 in volumes, 80 BV auto ships, and then the person at the top who's going for that Ruby promotion has to run their 80 BV auto ship, okay? Any final questions? You can come in. Awesome. Okay, that's how we do Ruby. We work together as a team to make that happen. And I'm trying to make sure as many of you as possible can kick out these Rubies right now in your team, because the more Rubies you produce, the more points you get for that cruise. And who doesn't want a free cruise, right? So that's our Ruby. Good luck. Let me know if you have any questions, okay? Talk to you later.